Magandang araw! April Marcas po, ang inyong pretty ate sa EdTech Unit. Alam ba ninyo na may webinar o online training session ng EdTech Unit tuwing Sabado? Ang araw na ito ay nakalaan para sa ating mga mahal na kaguruan upang turuan sila ng mga bagong kaalaman at kakayahan sa paggamit ng makabagong software at applications para sa pinaka-epektibong paraan at lubos mapagpusay ang kanilang paraan ng pagtuturo. This is also a refresher session for our beloved teachers to enhance their skills in technology. Every Saturday, we will conduct webinar sessions for teachers about the use, advantages, and relevance of different blended learning software applications. Ang webinar seryeng ito ay magsisimula ng alas 9 ng umaga hanggang alas 12 ng tanghali para sa morning session. Magsisimula naman ng alauna at magtatapos ng alas 4 ng hapon ang afternoon session. You can watch us in our DepEd EdTech Unit Facebook page, Educational Technology Unit YouTube channel, DepEd Tayo, and DepEd Philippines. Kita-kits tayo tuwing Sabado!
Mabuhay! Isang mapagpalang araw sa ating lahat. Ako ang inyong lingkod, Tutor Madge. Welcome sa ating ETUlay, ang ating libreng online tutorial na hatid ng ating kagawaran ng edukasyon, ICTS EdTech. Ang programang ito ay inaasahang makatutulong at maging karagdagang kaalaman sa mga mag-aaral mula kinder hanggang senior high school, ALS, Alive, at SPED learners. Bukod sa pagsagot ng mga modules, ang ETUlay ay may mga special programs din na siguradong aabangan ninyo araw-araw. Katuwang ang ating mga minamahal na mga magulang at guro ay maitutulay natin ang pagkatuto. Kaya, ihanda na ang inyong module, lapis, papel o kwaderno. Ihanda rin ang isip, mata at tenga sa isa na namang makabuluhang aralin. Tayo nang matuto kasama ang inyong volunteer online tutor sa oras na ito.
Hello, good afternoon, Tutor Eric.
Good afternoon, Tutor Wendy. Happy Monday!
Yes, happy Monday and welcome ulit sa ating mga students, teachers, and parents na nanonood ng ating Gen Bio 1 online tutorial.
Ayan, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat, sa ating mga mag-aaral, mga magulang at ating mga guro na mahusay. I am once again Tutor Eric saying that learning biology is fun and terrific.
And I am your tutor Wendy and I believe that general biology will come in handy.
Ayan, ayan, tayo ay nasa ikalawang linggo na, nasa week 2 na tayo ng ating quarter 2 at ang ating discussion ngayon ay tungkol sa Chloroplast, Pigments, and Introduction to Photosynthesis.
Yes. So parang continuation lang ito ng ating previous session, Tutor Eric.
Yeah, oo nga po. Kaya naman sa ating mga mag-aaral, ayan, handa na ba kayo? So please ready your pen and paper para kayo ay makapag-take notes. Remember that taking notes ay nag-e-enhance ng ating learning. And of course, let us listen, learn, and participate dito sa ating mga discussion sa pamamagitan ng pagta-type ng inyong mga answers dito sa ating comment section, dito sa ating live stream ng ating ETUlay General Biology 1 tutorial. And of course, let us respect one another. Let us use our social media platforms responsibly. And ngayon naman, Tutor Wendy, it's time na para tayo ngayon ay magkaroon ng attendance check. So dito sa ating comment ay i-type lamang ang inyong name, ang inyong grade and section at ang inyong school and section. At of course, i-type ang inyong General Biology 1 teacher. So makikita ninyo sa ating screen yung mga sample comments na sumunod dito sa ating format ng ating attendance check. And of course, do not forget to react, heart, or like yung ating live stream ngayon at i-share para mas marami pa ang makapanood ng ating tutorial ng General Biology 1.
Yes.
Ayan, so
Ayan.
may mga
Tutor Eric.
nag-attendance na ba?
Oo, meron na. So, nandyan na ang ating mga students, Tutor Eric from Jones Rural High School and of course, yung mga taga Daniel R. Aguinaldo National High School from Davao. So, sila yung mga nauna sa ating attendance check.
Ayan. And of course, para sa ating mga learners ngayon ay pinagdiriwang natin ang Department of Science and Technology National Science and Technology Week na may temang agham at teknolohiya tugon sa hamon ng panahon. Of course, ang ating agham at ang ating pananaliksik ay merong role sa tatahakin ng ating mundo sa kinabukasan. And lalo ngayon na tayo ay merong mapanghamong panahon ng pandemya, ayan, may kalutasan sa agham at teknolohiya. So, i-follow nyo lamang ang page ng ating Department of Science and Technology para malaman ninyo ang schedule ng events ng ating NSTW 2021. Ayan, na-miss ko tuloy ang pagpunta sa World Trade Center every year kapag National Science and Technology Week. Ayan,
So ito,
first and
Tutor
last yung
Eric, ay
nakaraan.
week-long celebration ito, no? Na sa ngayon puro virtual muna tayo. Pero
Oo.
hopefully next time makapunta na ulit tayo sa sa event na ganyan.
Yes, yung may mga exhibits talaga ng mga research natin and something
Yes,
that's about
tama.
science and technology. Ngayon, ayan, i-recognize naman natin ang ating mga naging partner schools and teachers nitong week 1 ng ating General Biology 1. So, ang ating partner schools, ayan, nandiyan ang Aurora Senior High School with our partner teacher, Sir Brian R. Concepcion. Nandyan din ang Horacio de la Costa Senior High School with our partner teacher, Ma'am Esther Boralio. And from Daniel R. Aguinaldo National High School, we have Ma'am Jen Melendres Pepito. Ayan, at meron pa tayo syempre na mga partner schools and teacher, no, Tutor Wendy. We have also our Jones Rural School. And our partner teacher is Ma'am Cheryl G. Reyes. Maraming salamat po sa pagsuporta. And ang San Miguel National High School with our partner teacher, Ma'am Mary Joan Joan Aquino. So maraming salamat po sa ating mga partner schools and teachers sa pagsubaybay at pagsuporta sa General Biology 1 ETUlay tutorial. And of course, kung meron tayong mga partner schools and teachers, meron din tayong mga bioactive students of the week.
So, hindi natin to pwedeng kalimutan, Tutor Eric. Siyempre, i-recognize natin ang ating mga bioactive students.
Ayan, mula sa Aurora Senior High School, meron ang ating bioactive student ay si Kyla May. At mula naman sa Horacio de la Costa Senior High School, ang ating bioactive student ay si Gian. Ayan, tignan naman natin. Congratulations. Mula naman sa Daniel R. Aguinaldo National High School, we have Drew Avinash, Bea Marie, Hezekiah John, Elena Gale, Arian Sophia, Mark Allen Luis, Bea Katrina, Arcane Sebastian, James Edrich, Bianca Nicole, Gian Glidel, and Christine Monreal. Ayan. At sino pa ang ating mga bioactive students from Daniel R. Aguinaldo? We have Princess, Carlin Shane. We have Kier, Danver, Novaliza, Nicole Kite. Ayan, si Eddie John. Nandyan din si John Raven, Charles Jake, Janet, Almarie, Samantha Nicole, at si Carl Brian. Meron pa ba tayo from Daniel R. Aguinaldo na bioactive students?
Lipat na tayo ng school. Lipat na tayo ng school, Tutor Eric.
Mula naman sa Jones Rural School. Ayan, ang ating mga bioactive students. Nandiyan si Girly, nandiyan si Frances Carel, John Errol, Eliza May, John Wayne, Janelle, Noreen Lay, ayan, Luisa Joy, Jemaina Guainet, si Hannah DR at saka si Hannah B. Ayan.
So, dalawa yung Hannah natin dyan.
Dalawa kasi yung Hannah natin. So, initials na yung kanilang mga surname. Mula naman sa San Miguel National High School, we have Sheena May. We also have Jello, Jasmine Marie, Jemark, Larissa, Patricia, Alexandra, Angelica, Giselle, Francine, Giselle, Ann, and si Trixie May. Para sa ating bioactive students from San Miguel National High School. So, itong ating mga bioactive students students, sila yung mga students natin na bukod sa nag-attendance ay they actively participated sa lahat ng questions natin dito sa ating tutorial
Yun.
for week 1.
So, hindi lang
Ayan,
huminto sa attendance, Tutor Eric. Talagang nag-participate all throughout our session.
Ayan. So, maraming salamat din sa pagsuporta and sana ay marami din kayo natututunan sa ating bioactive
Tama.
students. Now, punta naman tayo ngayon sa target natin ng ating objectives for our quarter 2 week 2 dito sa ating Gen Bio 1. So, ang ating most essential learning competency ay you should be able to explain the importance of chlorophyll and other pigments. Ayan, so ito ay mula doon sa ating week 1 na competency pero ay minabutin natin na ihiwalay dahil merong special na highlight ang ating discussion ng chlorophyll and other pigments ngayon. Para
Yes.
ma-explain natin ang photosynthesis next week. Ayan, so ano ba ang ating discussion noong nakaraan? Noong nakaraang linggo, tayo ay nag-discuss ng tungkol sa introduction sa metabolism and we have come to learn na ang metabolism ay yung totality ng lahat ng chemical reactions na nangyayari sa ating mga cell. And of course, metabolism, we have catabolism, which is yung mga process na nagli-lead sa breaking down ng molecules. And we have anabolism, which are the building up processes or mga pathways na nagbi-build up ng ating mga molecules. All of these reactions follow our laws of thermodynamics, in particular our first law of thermodynamics and our second law of thermodynamics. Now, combining the first and second law of thermodynamics, may explain natin ng exogenic at saka ang ating at saka yung ating exergonic reactions at saka ang ating exergonic reactions. Ayan, endergonic at saka exergonic. At ayan, nalaman din natin na ang ating ATP molecule, it is the energy carrier of the cell and it follows the principle of our gives free energy. So ipinapares ang highly negative nating highly exergonic nating hydrolysis ng ATP sa isang endergonic reaction para ayan maging para sustainable yung ating chemical reactions. And of course, ayan mula sa pagiging adenosine diphosphate at saka inorganic phosphate, ito ay nag-undergo ng chemical reaction para maging ATP molecule ulit. So ayan ang ating discussion ngayon. Ayan, I will give you to our main discussant, Ma'am Wendy.
Ayan, thank you, Tutor Eric. So, nabanggit nga kanina ni Tutor Eric na na-introduce na tayo doon sa ating concept ng metabolism. And one of the most important metabolic process in living organisms is how they obtain food or nutrition. So, there are two modes of nutrition in living organisms. So, first we have our autotrophs, or most commonly we call them as our producers. So the term autotrophs come from the combination of the Greek words auto, which means self, and trophs, which means food or nutrition. So bakit ba sila kilala as producers? Of course, alam ng mga students natin yan, it is because they are capable of making their own food. So the most common example of autotrophs, of course, is our plants. And then the second mode of nutrition is the heterotrophs, or we commonly know them as our consumers. So hetero means others, and of course, sinabi na nga kanina, troph means food or nutrition. So consumers need other organisms to obtain their food or nutrition. Now, paano ba nakakagawa ng sarili nilang pagkain yung ating mga autotrophs or producers? So they do this through a process that we know as photosynthesis. Now, this is our main topic. Ngayon, itong ating topic ng photosynthesis would be parang a three-part series. So, ngayong session natin, we will just be discussing yung ating intro and yung mga organelles and pigments na involved sa process na to. So, ano nga ba ang photosynthesis? So, it is a metabolic process that converts light energy to chemical energy. Now, yung ating photosynthesis can be represented by a chemical equation. Okay? So dito sa ating chemical equation, we can see that we have 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and 6 molecules of water. And with the energy coming from sunlight, nakakapag-produce siya ng isang molecule ng sugar, specifically yung ating glucose, plus 6 molecules of oxygen. Now, based on this equation, sa tinuro sa atin ni Tutor Eric last week, we can identify what type of metabolic process photosynthesis is. So, ano nga ba ang photosynthesis? Is it catabolic or is it anabolic? Tutor Eric?
Ayan, mula sa pangalan, di ba, photo means light and synthesis, we
Light?
are creating or building up
Yes, to
something.
make. Mm-mm.
Oo, so etong mga autotrophs natin or mga organisms that are making their own food through photosynthesis, ayan. Or also we have chemosynthesis, pero ang ating i-focus is yung ating
Ay, photo.
photosynthesis.
Yes.
Okay,
Mm-mm.
so
So
ano
this
ba itong
is
photosynthesis natin? This is a
an
anabolic
anabolic,
reaction.
yes. Kasi nabanggit nga kanina ni Tutor Eric, building up. So, meron tayong product na nagagawa, which is ang main product nga niya is our sugar or glucose. So, makikita din natin sa ating chemical equation na ang raw materials ng photosynthesis are carbon dioxide and water at ang kanyang product ay sugar and oxygen. Now, paano ba na-obtain ng plants yung kanyang raw materials para ma-enable yung photosynthetic process? So, mag-start tayo doon sa water. So, water is absorbed from the soil. Ang gumagawa nito ay yung ating roots. So, once the roots absorb water, it will be transported to different parts of the plants, to the stem, to the leaves, through vessels na alam naman natin yan, na-discuss natin during our first quarter, the xylem vessels. Now, pagdating naman sa carbon dioxide, ang carbon dioxide enters the plants through the openings or pores called stomata. Okay? So the stomata can be found in leaves and young stems. Particularly, napakarami niyan sa underside ng leaves. And ang kanyang role is to regulate the gas exchange in plants. Kaya yung oxygen na byproduct ng photosynthesis, it is returned to the environment, diba? Binabalik siya sa environment also through the stomata. Now, for the glucose, ang ginagawa naman sa kanya after magawa yung glucose, tinatransport siya sa iba't ibang bahagi ng plant, also through a vessel known as the phloem. Ginagamit siya ng plants for growth and development. Now, yung excess sugar or glucose ay ini-store ng plants in the form of starch. Okay? Now, Tutor Eric, bago tayo mag-continue, try muna natin kung natatandaan pa ito ng ating mga estudyante, i-tickle natin yung kanilang mga brains. So, meron
Ayan.
tayo
So,
ditong brain teaser.
brain teaser. So, ano yung
Mm-mm.
tawag doon sa ating double membrane pigment containing organelles that are found in plant cells and eukaryotic algae na nagsaserve as site of our photosynthesis? Ano kaya itong organelle na ito? Una, ito ay double membrane at pigment containing, at pangatlo, meron ito sa
Mm-mm.
mga plant cells at yung ating ilang mga algae. Okay?
Ayan. So, sa ating mga bioactive students, ano kaya itong hinahanap nating organelle? Ayan,
Ayan, may nakita
may
na ako, so
sumasagot
gumagot.
na. Yes.
Ayan, at ang sabi ni na Elena, ayan, ni na RK, ni na Jimwell, okay? At ni Almarie, ayan, ang sabi nila, that's the chloroplast. Yung chloroplast nga ba ito, Tutor Wendy?
Yes, so that is correct. Ang hinahanap nating organelle ay yung ating chloroplast, which plays an important part during the process of photosynthesis. So this is our chloroplast. So ano nga ba yung chloroplast? It is a type of plastid, but it contains pigments. And now yun nga, yung kanyang main function is it is the site of photosynthesis. Now the characteristics of our chloroplast is that it is double membrane. It has its own genetic material or DNA. That is why it is capable of reproducing itself. And saan ba ito nakikita? It can be found in the green tissues of plants. So, like your leaves and your young stems.
Stems.
Okay. Now, yung chloroplast natin, it can vary in size, in shape, in number, depende from cell to cell or from one organism to another. Now, ang focus natin is the chloroplast that is found dito sa ating discussion. Ang ating focus is yung chloroplast na nakikita sa tissues ng plants. Okay. So, it is important to be familiar with the structure of the chloroplast when studying photosynthesis because yung certain stages, iba't ibang stages ng photosynthesis occurs in different areas inside the chloroplast. So, dapat familiar tayo dun sa parts ng organelle na to. Kanina nga nasabi, Tutor Eric, na the chloroplast is double membrane, meaning it has an outer and an inner membrane. Yes. So, yung outer membrane niya, ang characteristic ng outer membrane ng chloroplast is that it is freely permeable to small molecules. So, this means that they let everything pass through. Now, this is not true when it comes to the inner membrane. Yung inner membrane naman ng ating chloroplast is highly selective. Napag-aralan na natin yan during our discussion on transport system. So, pag sinabi yung selectively permeable, it may allow some materials to pass through but not others. Kaya yung ating inner membrane, it contains many transporters. Ang examples niya na yung ating integral membrane proteins na nagpa-facilitate sa movement ng materials in and out ng ating chloroplast. Next part ng ating chloroplast ay ang ating stroma. Now, the stroma is the clear fluid inside the chloroplast. So, it is a protein-rich ground substance. So, ano ba ang laman ng stroma? It contains enzymes, starch granules, the chloroplast DNA, and the ribosomes. Now, an important stage of photosynthesis actually occurs in the stroma. Kaya meron siyang it has dissolved enzymes in it. Yung enzyme na yun ang nagkakatalyze sa photosynthetic process. Now, this will be elaborated, Tutor Eric, sa mga susunod nating session, yung pinaka-process ng photosynthesis.
Yes.
And then lastly, we have what we call the thylakoids. Now, yung stroma pala natin, it also provides support doon sa ating thylakoids, which is another membrane system within the chloroplast. Pag siya dinidescribe siya as membrane-bound flattened disc. So, this shape siya. And they are arranged in stacks. Parang patong-patong na disc. Yes,
patong-patong na disc. Parang barya, no? Na pag
Oo, tama. Yun nga yung kanyang magandang description. Para siyang barya na pinagpatong-patong. Yung stacks na yon, ang tawag sa kanya ay, okay. Pag isa lang, or singular, we call it the granum. Pag plural or madami sila, we call it the grana.
Grana.
Okay? Yes.
So, now, pag isang stack ay granum, grana ay yung maraming
granum
stacks.
Or granum, grana or grana. Now, they are interconnected to each other by tubular membranes. Ang tawag doon sa kanilang connections ay the intergranal lamellae. Minsan naman may mga references that calls it the stromal lamellae. Okay? The thylakoid contains yung ating mga photosynthetic pigments na ang role naman is to capture sunlight.
Yes.
Okay, so sana clear yung ating apat na main parts ng ating chloroplast, which is the inner and outer membrane, the stroma, and the thylakoid. Now, Tutor Eric, we proceed to our plant pigments. Ayan. So
bakit nga ba green ang halaman, no?
Kaya nga, no? Tsaka bakit may marami ring kulay, di ba, no, Tutor Eric? This is because of our plant pigments, or tinatawag din silang biochromes. So, plant pigments are organic compounds. They produce very strong or intense colors. So, they can be categorized into 4 groups. We have our chlorophylls. So, yan yung nagbibigay ng green color sa ating mga plants. We have the anthocyanins. It gives red, purple, and blue. Ang ganda-gandang tignan ng kulay. And then we have our carotenoids, which gives yellow, orange, and red colors. And lastly, we have the betalains, which gives red and yellow colors. So particularly doon sa beets, kung familiar ang ating students sa beets.
Yung sugar beets, no?
Oo, grabe kumulay yan sa kamay, di ba? It is because of the plant pigment. Now, ano ba ang function ng plant pigment sa ating mga halaman? So first, it gives colors to flowers, leaves, and fruits. So aside from making the plants yung maganda sa mata, 'di ba, magandang tignan lalo na pag iba-ibang kulay at napaka-rich ng
Yes.
colors. Importante ang color sa plants because they use it to attract yung insects, yung mga birds and animals for pollination and seed dispersal, 'di ba? Para maparami sila. And aside from that, pagdating naman dito sa ating discussion, importante siya because it plays a key role in photosynthesis. And as a consequence, it can control the growth and development of our plant. Now, among these four categories of plant pigments, sa ating discussion, mas focus tayo sa chlorophylls and carotenoids. Bakit? Kasi ang ating chlorophylls and carotenoids ay tinatawag nating photosynthetic pigments.
Pigments.
So, bakit sila photosynthetic pigments? Because they can or they have the ability to absorb energy from sunlight that in turn would be utilized during photosynthesis. Ngayon, alam naman natin na ang sunlight would be the driving force. Diyan kumukuha ng energy yung ating process ng photosynthesis. And yung ability ng dalawang pigments na to absorb light is connected doon sa kanilang molecular structure and organization. So kung titingnan niyo yung ating presentation, mapapansin niyo na yung chlorophyll and yung carotenoid ay mayroong mga conjugated double bonds. Diba?
Ayan. So, medyo
Yes, yung mga
i-relate
double
lang
lines.
natin, no? Oo,
Mhm.
medyo i-relate lang natin kasi kapag ang sunlight kasi is na-harness kasi ang energy from sunlight sa pamamagitan noong i-excite kasi ng sunlight yung electrons natin
Yes.
nitong ating pigments, ng ating chlorophylls and carotenoids, and that excited electrons ay magagamit doon sa mga process natin sa photosynthesis. Now, significant yung ating mga double bonds kasi as you know it, kapag inaral niyo ito sa organic chemistry in your higher years, kung kayo ay magpo-pursue pa ng STEM courses, sa double bonds kasi mas expose yung ating mga electrons. Unlike doon sa mga single bonds.
So, yung
Ayun po.
chlorophyll and carotenoid, thank you Tutor Eric for that info. So, sila, mapapansin ng mga students natin, marami silang double bonds. So, yung chlorophyll, yung
Yes.
double bonds, pag sinabi yung conjugated double bonds, these are alternating pairs of carbon molecules. Na pag tinignan niyo yung sa chlorophyll, it can be cyclic, or dito naman sa ating carotenoid, it is linear yung kanyang structure. So, yan nga. Sila yung nag-absorb ng energy from photons. Photons. Okay.
Yes.
Now, punta tayo, Tutor Eric, sa structure ng ating chlorophyll. So, ito yan, yung ating structure ng chlorophyll. So, ano ba ang kanyang part? So, meron siyang central magnesium ion. Yan, yung nasa gitna nung pinaka-structure. And then, surrounded siya ng tinatawag na porphyrin ring. So, ito naman ay isang nitrogen-containing structure. And it also has a long hydrocarbon side chain attached to the ring. Ang tawag doon sa side chain na yon ay yung ating phytol chain. So, makikita pa rin dyan yung ating mga double bonds na important sa pag-absorb ng energy from sunlight. So, eto na ngayon yung sagot sa tanong kanina ni Tutor Eric, why plants appear or look green sa ating mga paningin? It is because the chlorophyll absorbs blue and red light and it reflects green light. So, yung reflected light, yun yung nakikita ng ating mga mata. Kaya plants that contains chlorophyll appear green.
Ayan, tama yan. So, tama yung sagot na kung bakit green ang ating halaman. It's because, it's because of the chlorophyll. Pangalawa, dahil sa magnesium ion na nasa gitna ng ating chlorophyll. Ayan, and of course, kung pag-uusapan naman natin ay physics, ayan, green light is reflected. Kaya kulay green ang ating halaman.
Now, there
and of course,
are
our chlorophyll.
meron din iba't ibang types yung ating chlorophyll. So we have our chlorophyll A, which is found in higher order plants and yung ating cyanobacteria or yung ating blue-green algae. Then we have our chlorophyll B, also found in higher order plants and yung ating green algae. Then we have our chlorophyll C, which is found in diatoms, dinoflagellates. Yan yung nagkukos ng, ano, di ba, Tutor Eric, ng red tide.
Nung red
And,
tides, yung
oo, yung
dinoflagellates.
dinoflagellates. And nakikita rin yung chlorophyll C sa ating brown algae. And then, lastly, we have yung ating chlorophyll B, which is found in red algae. So, these are the main types of chlorophyll. Kasi,
Chlorophyll.
nabe-breakdown pa yung ibang types into other types eh. So, these are the 4 main types.
Oo. So,
the
Tutor
main-
Wendy, no?
Yes, Tutor
Ayan,
Eric.
sige po. Ayan. So parang ano lang tayo, no? Additional na info. Ano ba yung pinagkaiba-iba nitong mga ito? So, ang pinaka-main na photosynthetic pigment natin is yung
Mm-mm.
ating chlorophyll A na makikita siya
and
doon sa yung ating A and B. Yung A, yun yung mismong nagre-reflect nung ating green light. So, siya yung pinaka-main doon sa ating photosynthesis. Siya yung required. Si chlorophyll B, ayan, ang function niya is para i-expand yung color spectrum na na-absorb ng ating halaman mula sa
wavelength.
sunlight. Oo,
Yes.
'di ba kasi ayan mapag-aaralan ninyo 'yan yung color spectrum natin sa light. Okay? And para mas ma-maximize yung energy for photosynthesis. But okay, ang photosynthesis natin ay magpo-proceed even without our chlorophyll B. Ang pinaka-required is yung ating chlorophyll A.
Chlorophyll A.
Ayan.
So, yun nga. Sabi nga ni Tutor Eric, ang ating main photosynthetic pigments mainly is A, and then we have our chlorophyll B. Okay. Next, dun sa ating photosynthetic pigments would be our carotenoids. So, ang carotenoids naman, ang structure niya is polyene chain terminating in rings. So, pag sinabi niyong polyene chain, ito ay polyunsaturated alkenes, compounds with several carbon-carbon double bonds. Ayan na naman si double bonds. It gives the
Yes.
pigment the ability to absorb energy from photons. So, ano ba ang role ni carotenoid sa photosynthesis? Although ang main talaga na pigment for photosynthesis is our chlorophyll, yung ating carotenoid serves as an accessory light harvesting pigment. So,
Pigments.
ina-absorb niya yung wavelength na hindi na-absorb nung ating chlorophyll. Parang yung ginagawa kanina nung chlorophyll B, no? Yung hindi niya na-absorb na wavelength ng A, ina-absorb ni B. Tapos, ganun din ang ginagawa ni carotenoid. Yung hindi na-absorb na wavelength ng chlorophyll, siya ang nag-a-absorb and then ipapasa niya yung energy doon sa chlorophyll. So, mainly, nandun siya sa range ng blue-green colors. Kasi di ba yung ating chlorophyll would be red and blue.
Ayan. So ang example natin ng carotenoid is yung tinatawag natin ng yung mga
Ito ba?
pigments na makikita natin sa carrots. Ayan, carotene at saka yung
Yan.
xanthophyll.
Yung ating
Ayan, to add
xanthophyll.
pala, no, Tutor Wendy, bukod
Yes,
doon sa
Tutor Eric.
pagiging bukod doon sa kanyang pagiging accessory light harvesting pigment, ang carotenoids din natin ay may role para para siyang may protective role doon sa ating halaman.
Yes,
Kasi
oo,
sometimes
oo.
yung ating mga sometimes kasi yung ating sunlight, it can cause some molecules doon sa ating plant cells na ito ay masira. So carotene, of course, it has a role para maging protective siya doon sa mga processes na maaaring makasira doon sa ibang mga molecules due to our sunlight. So yan yung isa pang role ng ating carotenoids. So ayan, Tutor Wendy.
Yes. So yung Tutor Eric, yung carotene tsaka yung xanthophyll, same lang din naman yan ng base structure niya as carotenoids. Nag-iba lang sila because of the oxygen content. Kasi yung ating xanthophyll, meron siyang oxygen content. Now yung carotenes natin, they reflect mostly red and orange light. Kaya nga yung carrot, di ba? Doon kaya nanggaling yung name ng carotene sa carrot. Or the other way
It's
around.
other way
ano?
around.
Oh, the other
Ayan.
way around. And then yung ating xanthophyll naman, very distinct din daw siya, madali siyang ma-recognize because of the yellow color. And napakarami daw niya, napaka-abundant daw ng xanthophyll sa leaves. Kaya responsible siya doon sa changing ng leaf color kapag nag-change din yung season, hindi tayo masyadong makarelate dyan dahil hindi naman tayo 4 seasons, ano, Tutor Eric? Pero sa ibang bansa
Yes.
na nakaka-experience ng winter, spring, summer, and fall, so pag nagpalit na yung kulay ng dahon during fall, nawawala yung green, di ba, Tutor Eric? Nagdi-disintegrate
Yes.
daw yung chlorophyll dahil medyo kaunti yung sunlight, nangingibabaw yung
Oo.
sun to fill. Kaya yung mga trees, ang ganda-ganda nilang tignan with their yellow and red colors. So, yan
Oo,
po
para
yung
syempre
ating
ma-conserve
mga
din nila yung
pigment.
sarili nila.
Yes. So,
Oo.
nagbibigay din yan ng colors sa ating mga vegetables like yung ating nandiyan sa example, the yellow peppers, yung ating papaya and squash. Okay? So, Tutor Eric, at this point ay tutuloy na tayo sa ating bio quiz for quarter
Ayan
2.
na, quiz time na
Quiz
natin,
time
bio
na. Kaya,
quiz.
sisilip na tayo sa ating comment section. Pasensya na. Alam mo, Tutor Eric, doon sa pagsasalita natin, meron tayong 88 comments. Pasensya natin, hindi na namin masyadong nababasa yan. Ngayon, ay bio quiz tayo. We go to our
Ayan.
question number 1.
Ayan. Question number 1. So, which of the following chemical equations represent photosynthesis? Is it A, carbon dioxide and glucose will produce water and oxygen? Or letter B, carbon dioxide and oxygen will produce water and glucose. Letter C, carbon dioxide and water will produce glucose and oxygen. Or letter D, glucose and oxygen will produce carbon dioxide and water. So,
Okay,
answers
so
now?
ang dami ng
Ayan.
answers, Shooter Eric. C daw po ang kanilang mga sagot and that is the correct
Correct
answer.
answer.
Ayan. So, titignan lang naman
Ayan.
nila
So,
yung
carbon
reactants tsaka
dioxide and
yung
water.
products.
Ayan. Ang products niyan ay glucose and
Glucose
oxygen.
and
So,
oxygen.
yung detalye niyan ay next week natin i-discuss. Number
Yes.
2. Ayan, number 2. What type of energy transformation occurs during photosynthesis? So, anong klaseng transduction ito? A, radiant to chemical. B, thermal to electrical. C, chemical to chemical. Or D, chemical to electrical. At ano ang
Ayan.
inyong sagot? Number 2, may mga nakikita na akong may nakita na akong answer. Letter C daw o baka siguro nagkamali lang siya ng numbering. Ayan, tignan
Oh,
natin ang answer ninyo sa
number 1 pa yung si Tutor Eric eh. Pero yung mga naka-number 2, letter A ang kanilang mga sagot, yung mga naka-number 2.
Ayan, at ang ating answer
Mm-mm.
ay
Ay, of course,
ayan,
yung
it's
ating
letter A. So
letter A.
radiant, okay, radiant energy yung ating sunlight and it is
Mm-mm.
transduced during photosynthesis into chemical energy na in the form of
Yes,
our
sa
glucose.
food. Mm-mm. Okay.
Ayan. At for our number 3, ayan, sa ating pangatlo, what is the role of pigments during photosynthesis? A, it absorbs water. B, it captures sunlight. C, it releases oxygen. Or D, it takes carbon dioxide. Of course, ayan, mag-elimination
Ayan na.
tayo. Ang nagre-release ng oxygen at ang nagte-take ng ating carbon dioxide sa ating halaman ay yung ating stomata, ng ating mga
Yes, binanggit yan
plants.
kanina.
Ang nag-absorb ng water ay mainly doon sa ating roots ng halaman and may iwan na lang sa atin ay letter B.
B, which is
Yan.
yun ang kanilang mga sagot, Tutor Eric. So, B.
Ayan, very good ang ating mga bioactive students. Ayan, number 4. Which of the following is true about the chlorophyll? Is it letter A, it absorbs green and blue light and reflects red light? Letter B, chlorophyll absorbs yung ating red and green light and reflects the blue light. Letter C, it absorbs the blue and red light and reflect green light. And letter D or letter D, it absorbs blue and green light and reflect our red light. So tandaan nyo lang, bakit nga ba nakikita natin na green ang ating mga halaman?
So, ang sagot nila, Tutor Eric, ay C.
Okay, at ang sagot ay letter C.
Yes,
Ayan,
they're correct.
green light is reflected. So tatandaan niyo lang din, parang concept lang yan ng spectrum natin. Bakit wala tayong makita na kulay sa black? Kasi lahat ng colors ay no, dun sa spectrum ay
Absorb.
absorb. Yung white
Absorb.
naman ay naire-reflect lahat, kaya white natin siya na nakikita. So yan, yung halaman
Ayan.
din natin, it reflects green light. For our last question for our bio quiz. Ayan. Where is the pigment chlorophyll located in the chloroplast? Is it in the A, grana, B, stroma, C, chloroplast envelope, or D, thylakoid membrane?
So, nabanggit yan kanina, Tutor Eric. Sabi, it contains pigments. So, antayin.
Okay.
Ayan, may mga sagot na. Magkaiba ang sagot. May D, may A.
Ayan.
But
Siguro
mostly
ma-clarify natin yan.
Oo, mostly D, Tutor Eric, ang kanilang sagot. So, the answer
Okay.
is
Letter D. So ang answer natin is
Ayan.
thylakoid membrane. Bakit nasasagot ay grana? Kasi 'di ba, Tutor Wendy, kapag pinatong-patong natin itong thylakoid
Yes,
membrane, ayan, meron tayong grana. So tama pa rin ang sagot natin na grana or granum. Yung stroma naman, this is the fluid na laman ng ating chloroplast. Yung chloroplast envelope, of course, ito yung membrane niya. So tama ang sagot natin na thylakoid, and of course, tama rin yung sumagot ng letter A na grana.
Okay.
So, ayan.
Ayan. Exciting to.
Ayan.
Isa itong bagong segment sa ating session, Tutor Eric.
Ayan. So, kami ngayon ay magbibigay ng assignment sa inyo para mas further nating makilala ang ating mga bioactive students. So, dito sa ating discussion, you have learned about that pigments play an important role in photosynthesis. Pero, bukod sa pagkakaroon ng role sa photosynthesis, ang ating mga pigments ay iba pang mga uses. So, ang task ninyo ngayon, ayan, parang bahay ni Kuya no? So ang task ninyo ngayon ay humanap ng practical. Ang weekly task ninyo ngayon ay humanap ng practical application of pigments. So magbibigay si Tutor Eric ng example, hindi na siya pwedeng gamitin ha. Ang example natin ay yung sa anthocyanins. Yung anthocyanins natin, yung red cabbage ninyo, ayan, yun yung dahilan kung bakit pwede siyang maging indicator ng pH. So actually, when you have your plants that are rich in anthocyanin, ayan, kunin niyo ang extract ng balat ng talong, nung red cabbage natin, yung kulay violet na liquid na yon, marami yung anthocyanin, and it is an indicator for pH level. So that's one practical application of our pigment. So yung task ninyo ay hanapin ang iba pa. So saan ito ipapasa? So maaari ninyo itong i-comment, or maaari din naman nagawa kayo ng infographic at saka kayo mag-comment.
Oo, dapat infographic talaga, no, Tutor Eric.
Oo, mas maganda yung infographic. So, meron tayong 2 modes of submission. Ang main mode ng submission natin, magpo-post si Tutor Eric ng, comment your assignment here, dyan sa ating ETUlay group. So, join lang kayo sa DepEd ETUlay group. Ayan, makikita, iyan na community ng mga nakasubaybay sa ating ETUlay. Sa ating ETUlay program. So magpo-post ako diyan ng dito sa ating assignment, and comment nyo lang doon sa post ko yung
Tutor Eric, medyo nagkakaroon ka ng audio problems, Tutor Eric. Hindi naririnig, Tutor Eric. Okay, wait lang. Ayan, sabi nga ni Tutor Eric,
hello.
ha? Ayan na. Okay.
Ma'am. Saan po ako naputol?
Doon sa magpo-post ka, doon sa DepEd ETUlay.
Oo, magpo-post ako, tapos pwede doon ninyo i-comment yung inyong assignment. I-comment doon. Or maaari din naman na balikan ninyo itong live stream natin at dito ninyo i-comment yung inyong mga assignments. So hihintayin namin ang inyong assignment para ngayon dito sa ating week 1. Week 2.
So week 2. So dapat, Tutor Eric, may deadline. May deadline dapat yan. Kailan deadline? Friday, no, Tutor Eric?
Oo, Friday. So may deadline talaga, Tutor Wendy. No? So,
kasi Tutor Eric, from yung ipapasa nila, dyan tayo kukuha ng top students kasi nahihirapan tayo just from our online tutorial. Dan lahat naman sila napaka-active. No, kailangan merong umangat. Ayan, dyan tayo kukuha ng
Ayan.
ating top bioactive students sa kanilang assignment.
Ayan, of course. Ayan, very active naman kayo. Nakikita naman natin
Yes.
sa ating live stream ngayon, no? Ang dami ni
Oo,
nagko-comment
dami
talaga kayo
nagko-comment.
ng inyong mga answers dito sa ating ETUlay tutorial. Pagpatuloy lamang ang interest sa ating Haynayan or sa ating general biology. And ayan, Tutor Wendy, ano na ba ang ating susunod? Ayan, yun yung mga reference na ginamit sa ating discussion. So that will be it for our week 2 of general biology tutorial. Don't forget na panoorin din ang ating mga iba pang senior high school science and technology program for first semester. Bukod sa general biology 1, meron tayong media and information literacy. We have our earth and life science, safety and first aid, and of course, we have also our general chemistry 1. Okay? So maraming salamat sa inyong lahat once again. Ayan, your feedback matters to us. Maaari ninyong i-scan yung QR code na nakikita ninyo sa inyong screen. And maaari din naman na i-type ninyo yung tinyurl.com/etulay feedback form. We highly encourage you na magbigay ng feedback sa amin para mas ma-improve namin yung aming pagde-deliver ng tutorial sa inyo. So we will openly welcome your feedback, comments, complaints, and suggestions as well as your concerns during our session. Ayan. So maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. I am once again Tutor Eric. Ayan, see you sa ating quarter 2 week 3 discussion next week.
Okay, and I am your tutor, Wendy. Again, thank you po sa panonood at aantayin namin ni Tutor Eric ang inyong assignment until Friday. Pre-measure yung mga bata, no? So, up next na, Tutor Eric, after natin ay yung ating ALS Filipino and yung ating special program na I Create Animation class. So, again, thank you po and see you next Monday. Tutor Eric, see you next Monday!
See you next Monday, Tutor Wendy.
Yes.
See you next
Bye.
Monday sa ating mga mahusay na learners, teachers, and parents. Goodbye!
Bye!
Ang husay naman! Natapos mo ang iyong tutorial session kasama ang iyong mahusay na ETUlay tutor. May bago ka bang natutuhan? I-share na yan gamit ang hashtag #ETUlayLevelUp. Huwag aalis ha, dahil may susunod pang programa na pwede mo ring panoorin at salihan. Dahil naghihintay na ang iyong mga tutors. Happy learning dito sa ETUlay!